It is fast. It is affordable. It is consumed by the billions every single year. And yet, one of the greatest linguistic mysteries in the culinary world remains hiding in plain sight. Why do we call it a hamburger when it contains absolutely no ham? Before we continue, please subscribe so you can be notified whenever I drop a new video. The answer isn't a mistake. It isn't a prank. It's a story of global migration, industrial innovation, and a centuries-old odyssey that began long before the first fast food sign ever lit up a highway. To find the beginning, we have to go back, way back. The idea of grinding meat into a manageable patty is an ancient one. The Romans were among the first to record it, a dish called isicia aumentata, minced pork mixed with wine, pepper, and a pungent fermented fish sauce called garum. This wasn't street food. This was high-end cookery. And somehow it survived the fall of Rome itself, resurfacing centuries later in medieval recipe books as rissoles and meatballs. Another ancestor emerged along the way, steak tartare, raw, seasoned ground beef, a dish that found fans across Europe. By the 1700s, the concept had crossed into British kitchens. Hannah Glass's 1763 cookbook, The Art of Cookery Made Plain and Easy, described something called a Hamburg sausage, minced beef, spices, and sweet, often served on toast. The name had arrived, but the sandwich hadn't, not yet, because the true soul of this dish belongs to one place, the German port city of Hamburg. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Hamburg was one of the busiest trade hubs in Europe, and the primary departure point for emigrants sailing toward a new life in America. In this seafaring city, resourceful butchers took tough, low-grade beef trimmings, the cuts nobody wanted, and salted them, minced them, and seasoned them with onion and breadcrumbs just to make them edible. They called it Hamburg steak. To a German, the word hamburger simply meant something, or someone, from Hamburg. Nothing more. So when these emigrants stepped off the ships in New York, one of the first things they searched for was a steak done in the Hamburg style, a taste of the home they'd left behind. For decades, the Hamburg steak stayed exactly what it was, a steak, eaten with a knife and fork, sitting on a plate. But America was changing. Factories were rising. Workers needed food they could eat on the run, literally with one hand while walking. And that single constraint, portability, is what turned a steak into a sandwich. The true inventor of the hamburger is one of history's most fiercely debated food mysteries. Nobody agrees, but everybody has a claim. In 1885, a 15-year-old vendor named Charlie Nagreen was struggling to sell meatballs at the Seymour Fair in Wisconsin. Fairgoers wanted to walk and eat at the same time, so he smashed a meatball flat and dropped it between two slices of bread. From that day on, they called him Hamburger Charlie. That very same year, 1885, Frank and Charles Menches were working the Erie County Fair in a town called Hamburg, New York. They ran out of pork sausage, so they improvised ground beef seasoned with coffee and brown sugar, and named it after the town they stood in. There are other claims, too. Fletcher Old Dave Davis, out of Athens, Texas, was serving ground beef patties on homemade bread with mustard and onion back in the late 1880s, and some say he carried the idea all the way to the legendary 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis. And in New Haven, Connecticut, a restaurant called Louie's Lunch still credits its founder, Louis Lassen, with inventing the sandwich in 1900, when a customer in a hurry asked for something he could eat on the go. Nobody will ever definitively win this argument, but every single one of these stories shares the same DNA: speed, hunger, and improvisation. And none of it would have been possible without one invention, the mechanical meat grinder, engineered by German inventor Karl Dreiss, which made minced meat cheap enough and fast enough for the masses. Even after the sandwich existed, it wasn't finished evolving. Early burgers were slapped onto plain white bread or toast. It wasn't until 1916 that Walter Anderson, who'd go on to co-found White Castle, engineered a sturdier, standardized bun built specifically for a burger. Then, in 1924, at a roadside stand called The Right Spot in Pasadena, California, a 16-year-old cook named Lionel Sternberger added something new: a slice of cheese. Whether it was a customer's request or a clever cover-up for a burnt patty, nobody knows for sure. But the aristocratic burger had just become the cheeseburger. There was just one problem. Ground beef had a terrible reputation. Upton Sinclair's explosive 1906 novel, The Jungle, had exposed the horrifying conditions inside America's meatpacking industry, and the public was terrified of what might be hiding inside their meat. So in 1921, Billy Ingram and Walter Anderson made a bold move. They founded White Castle and built restaurants designed to look like sparkling white castles, a symbol of purity. They ground their beef in full view of every customer to prove there was nothing to hide. Anderson even pioneered a new cooking method, poking 5 holes into every patty so it would cook through evenly without ever needing to be flipped. Trust. That's what they were really selling. Then came the transformation that would change everything. In the 1940s, brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald noticed something remarkable. 80% of their restaurant's revenue came from one item, the hamburger, so they rebuilt their entire kitchen around it. In San Bernardino, California, they introduced the Speedy Service System, an assembly line approach built for one thing, raw speed. When a young milkshake machine salesman named Ray Kroc walked through their doors in the 1950s, he saw something far bigger than a restaurant. He saw a blueprint for a global empire. By the 1960s, the hamburger wasn't just a meal anymore. It was a symbol of American culture, American efficiency, and American ambition exported to the entire planet. And the world adapted it right back. In Japan, the hamburger became a comforting staple of Western-style home cooking, often served not on a bun, but beside a bowl of rice and miso soup. In Australia, order a burger with the lot, and you might find a slice of beetroot stacked on top. And in the Netherlands, the brand Febo turned the burger into something almost futuristic, pulled hot from a wall of vending machine windows. Even the language kept evolving. English speakers misheard hamburger as ham plus burger, and just like that, burger became a suffix for anything served on a bun. Cheeseburgers, veggie burgers, turkey burgers, an entire vocabulary born from a simple misunderstanding. Today, the hamburger lives a double life. On one end, haute cuisine, black truffle, Wagyu beef, a $5 street snack reborn as a $50 delicacy. On the other, a nutritional battleground, plant-based patties on one side, XXL fast food portions on the other, as the world debates what eating on the move should really look like in the 21st century, from a Roman soldier's minced meat to a 5-cent slider, to a modern gourmet creation on white tablecloth linen. The history of the hamburger is really the history of us, a story about portability, about efficiency, about the constant, restless evolution of how humans eat on the move. A reminder that even your favorite sandwich carries the weight of a journey across centuries and across continents.